The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast episode with some breaking news. No, I'm just kidding. All right, happy Monday. Holy mackerel. What a weekend, huh? Obviously, you know what we're going to talk about today. And, you know, let me kind of try to set the stage for this episode. All right, so again, unless you absolutely are unbelievably off the grid, you know, Saturday, some random dude took a shot at President Trump. He was killed. And so, you know, you have to call that an attempted assassination attempt. I mean, you really do. Although CNN, MSNBC, and pretty much every liberal left-wing outlet, when it initially happened, only referred to it as an incident. And actually, CNN was funny. They said Secret Service lifts President Trump up off the ground after incident, which was like seriously one of the worst headlines ever. I mean, they did all come around later in the day Saturday and then definitely on Sunday and have referred to it now as an attempted assassination attempt. But for those of you guys that have listened for a long time, I mean, again, I've talked about this a lot. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back by any stretch of the imagination, but I've talked about the potential of an assassination really for Trump or Biden. And on the Biden side, it was more, I guess, set up that if they really needed to, it would have happened. And obviously it would have been like a crazy MAGA supporter. And so that way you're really generating animosity and hate for the MAGA side, which they're associating with Trump. And ideally that would give, you know, the Democrats a huge lift. On the Trump side, again, I tried to go back and find what episodes these were, but I mean, I think I said it a lot of times. I really did. I really said that, like, I just don't think Trump is going to be allowed, quote unquote, allowed to become president again. And you know what? I still feel that way even after this weekend. I will say that, you know, you're seeing a ton of posts that like, Trump just won the election. You know, that's it. It's a wrap. You know, this is going to not only raise, I mean, gosh, I bet you it caused a crazy amount of donations for sure. And then, which is funny to me. Like, I think that's so funny that people are like, oh my God, that was so bad. I'm going to donate a bunch of money. I don't know. I think that's odd. And then secondly, I mean, again, you're hearing obviously from the super right side, but even really from some folks that are on the Democrat side that are really saying this cemented Trump's win unless we have a change of course. So, all right, let me try to talk about some things. And again, I don't know if this is gonna actually, you know, it's funny. I don't know if this will trigger anybody or if it will not trigger anybody, but I'm just gonna like talk about everything and be open to exploring everything that I think, and then also be open to sort of discussing everything that I've read online between Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you know, and then all the news stories. So let's talk about the actual incident first of all. All right, so, you know, again, God, I feel like so hesitant to say this stuff, but I'm gonna say it. So the actual incident, I mean, here's the stuff that I thought was weird, okay? And I'm sorry, it just was weird. One is I thought that the photo op that is, well, it's the cover art that I used for this episode, and then really when Trump was, you know, being held by the Secret Service. They weren't even taking him to the ground, but they were kind of just holding him up. You could hear him on the mic say, wait, 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 as if they were trying to take him away. But then he wanted the photo op. Like he's like, wait, wait, wait. And then he sticks his arm in the air, makes that fist, that iconic fist. Man, you thought his mugshot was going to live on in infamy. That iconic fist. That might turn into like Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston or something. But again, man, I find that amazing that he had the presence of mind and, quite frankly, the balls and, quite frankly, just the awareness to be thinking that and doing that. I mean, again, I do the role reversal thing a lot. I really do. I role reversal everything practically in my life. And so on this one, like, I was thinking, okay, if I was in that position and, like, I really felt like somebody just tried to shoot me, and first of all, I would be on the ground probably immediately. And then secondly, I don't know if I would, even if I wish I would, I don't know if I'd have the mental presence to try and get that photo op, and that's really what it is and what it was. It was a photo op. He had his arm in the air, pumping his fist, and then he, again, like I said, he said, wait, wait, wait. He told him to wait so he could take that picture. And then he mouthed the fight, fight, fight. And again, like, I don't know why he mouthed it. It didn't look like he was yelling it. Like, he mouthed it. I don't know. That was weird to me. That was weird. I mean, again, I'm not even saying anything, I guess, whether it was planned, staged, or any. I'm really not. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But, like, all I'm saying is, man, that was a weird reaction. Like, I don't think I would react like that. I don't think I'd have the presence of mind to pump my fist. And I don't think I would mouth fight, fight, fight. I think, if anything, if I was that fired up on that much adrenaline, I'd probably be yelling at the top of my lungs. You know what I mean? Versus, like, mouthing it. So again, that was odd. And then if you saw, there are really two main videos that have been circulating. The main one with the Associated Press, I believe the Associated Press put out, there was a sniper that looked like he was above Trump's right shoulder the whole time on the roof. And it looked like he was literally pointing in the direction of where the shots came from, as if he had a bead on the guy the whole time, but, like, didn't take the shot until after that guy shot. I thought that was odd. Again, I don't know the whole thing about that, but it looked a little bit strange in terms of that sniper's position. And then secondly, how does that guy even get into that position? I mean, when you saw the then pictures of the dead guy, I don't even remember his name actually, but when you saw the pictures of him, he wasn't dressed up in, like, fatigues or dressed up in, like, I don't know, sniper wear, like wearing all black or something to blend in. It looks like the dude was, like, on his way to a Jimmy Buffett concert or something. And so, to me, that was odd too, that how did this guy he was only 130 yards away. Like, he was not that far. No, hold on. Actually, yeah, it's 133 yards or 400 feet. And it says the gunman was on the roof of a shed outside the rally's security perimeter set up by the Secret Service. So, like, when you look at the picture, I mean, why was the perimeter that was set up by Secret Service so small? I mean, it really was small. It looks like there were 30,000 people at this rally. The guy was on, like, a shed that looked like it was completely out in the open. There was no cover. Like, this wasn't like Lee Harvey Oswald, shucky ducky quack quack, Lee Harvey Oswald, where he was in the Texas Book Depository on the 6th floor, like, shooting out of a window where he had plenty of cover. This dude was literally, like, standing or kneeling on the roof, kind of out in the open. And that was the other thing. You saw all these videos of testimonials from the people at the event who said, hey, we saw a guy with a gun climb up onto the roof, and we told the cops and we told the Secret Service and all that. Like, I don't know, that stuff just doesn't make sense that this guy was even able to get himself into that position. Because again, like I said, this isn't like a thing where he had a lot of cover. He was basically climbing onto the roof of this thing out in the complete open. I don't understand how that could have happened. Like, I don't understand how there wasn't snipers everywhere looking at everything. It seems like that was a really, really tight perimeter that the Secret Service had set up, or Trump's personal security. Again, I don't know if it was a combination of the two or what. But anyway, there was a lot of stuff on the internet over the weekend that basically talked about how people were not understanding how Secret Service didn't take him out like much sooner before he even got the rounds off. And so again, I mean, like that part of the discussion is weird because you think like, okay, I mean, was Secret Service in on it? Like, did they kind of know what was going to happen and they, I don't know, gave the guy a shot? No pun intended, actually, pun intended. And then after that, they realized, like, oh crap, he missed. So let's take him out. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And by the way, like, do not get triggered right now with anything I'm saying. If you are a pro-Trump supporter or an anti-Trump supporter, I would ask you and appreciate, do not get triggered. We're just like talking, and we're just like looking at all options, because again, we live in a crazy, weird world, and that started March 13th, 2020 with COVID and everything that's happened since. It's just not been normal. So anyway, just be open to asking questions and going in another direction. And so that leads me to kind of my second big point that I wanted to make is, you know, it was interesting to see all the Republican pundits who basically for the past 4 years have made an absolute living off of questioning everything, which, by the way, I liked. I really did. I mean, I think I've said in previous episodes the reason why I previously was Republican was because I did agree with the way they thought about COVID, and I did agree with the way they thought through COVID, and really the way they pushed back to an extent, or even if you don't want to use the word pushed back, the way they asked questions and at least critically thought about what was going on. Now, I've since moved away from that party, and I'd rather be a registered independent, because there are things that that party does that I'm just like, no way, dude, I am not a fan of that at all. And I can't really be all in on that. So I'd rather be not all in on either one and just be independent. But what I was going to say was, you know, it was interesting over the weekend to see all of these Republican politicians and then also the pundits now attacking other people who were asking questions. I mean, again, some of the questions I just laid out in the first 10 minutes of this, or asking other questions, or, I mean, obviously some of the hardcore Democrats and hardcore Democratic pundits, you know, they were saying, oh, this feels like it was planned or staged or whatever. And again, I mean, it's an attempt on someone's life, so you want to take it seriously. And absolutely, I absolutely do, because again, even trying to figure out like what kind of bullet that was or all that, I mean, at the end of the day, it does seem someone did lose their life at this. It looks like a gentleman that was protecting his wife and child. His name was Corey Compertori, a former fire chief, was the guy that was shot and killed, you know, at the rally. And I mean, that's awful. That's absolutely awful. Like imagine going to a rally like that and with I think he was with his wife and daughters, and he was protecting them, and looks like he got hit by a stray bullet from that dude's gun. I mean, that's horrible. That's horrible. Again, I hate to say it, man, but I have told people, I was like, stay away from these things. I mean, I totally respect people showing their support for whom they support. I absolutely do. But man, there's just so much craziness with all of this, just like what happened Saturday, that I don't know. I mean, I just don't think it's worth it. I mean, obviously it's not worth it. Poor guy gave up his life for, you know, for that. That's just tragic. That's truly tragic. That's absolutely, truly tragic. But anyway, to finish out on that, like, you know, again, I mean, I guess the question you have to ask, and trust me, this is just about rising up to that 30,000 foot marker and looking down and trying to figure everything out. And so the question you have to ask is, if you are really a critical thinker, regardless of whether you are Republican, Democrat, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Biden, anti-Biden, whatever, you should try to look at everything. You should try to look at everything as objectively as you can to see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And I'll get into some stuff with President Biden as well that his post-assassination stuff, they don't make sense to me. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. But anyway, I did think it was a little ironic that all these super pro Republicans, basically just they became visceral against anybody that was asking any type of questions, when fundamentally they've argued that the other side has been doing that for the past 4 years. So anyway, there's that. All right, let's move on to President Biden. His reaction to all of this, I mean, again, I think it was the right reaction. He sort of took the higher ground, and it looks like he absolutely has doubled down on really trying to almost like throw cold water on all of this and cool everything down. He had a primetime address yesterday where he said that, it's time to cool it down. I mean, basically, he said it's time to cool it down, and this election year rhetoric needs to stop, and we need to get back to a more cordial environment and let the American people decide at the ballot box. Okay, here's a quote from him. "There is no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence, ever, period, no exception. We can't allow this violence to be normalized," Biden said. So I guess I didn't see it, but he spoke for 6 minutes in his third address to the nation since Saturday evening's attack by a shooter that killed one rally goer and seriously injured 2 more. His warning came hours after FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate said agents have seen increasingly violent rhetoric online since the attack at the Trump rally. So that's a perfect lead into really one of the narratives that obviously now is in play. And that is, okay, is a MAGA super duper Trump supporter going to now take a shot at President Biden? And will that shot be more accurate? And will that cause an actual assassination? And then will that enable the Democrats to have to bring in another candidate? I mean, again, read between the lines a little bit on that, but I think that's a plausible storyline. And if you're like shaking your head thinking Ray D's lost his mind, again, I think you need to open your mind. I really do. Like, anything and everything is plausible right now. So that's one storyline. I don't think that storyline will play out because it's a little too obvious. And again, I've said it before, one of my favorite original quote of mine, and that is, if the dots are too easy to connect, they're probably not the real dots. And so I think that's a perfect example of that. Was this for some reason, I don't know, orchestrated, quote unquote, to then enable the same thing to be attempted against President Biden and then pin that on MAGA supporter and then rally the troops otherwise? I don't think so. I think that's just too obvious. And so I think people would see through that if that ended up being the case. What I actually think, though, and this was reinforced by really everything President Biden has said since then, is that I think that the route the Democrats are taking is, again, to diffuse the anger and animosity and almost make it to where we say, hey, you know what? Let's just shake hands. Let's be civil to one another. Let's take it back to where we were all gentlemen and politicians had gentlemen's debates, and let's take it back and let's let the American people decide at the ballot box. So what I think this also potentially has done is kind of quieted all the talk about replacing President Biden. So we'll see. We'll see if this does quiet that talk. and we'll see if this gives the Democrats really some, I don't know, breathing room or some room to like just maybe take a beat and not have to worry about addressing all that talk, because I don't think they're going to be visceral against Trump right now. I think they're going to just cool out. They might not even have much, crazy advertising. They might get away from saying Trump is the next Hitler. They might get away from saying he's a threat to the democracy. They might really tone it down big time, to where they're almost like, I don't want to say ignoring it, but they're almost not really taking that course of action anymore. Instead, they're kind of killing the situation with kindness, so to speak. And basically that is their tactical ploy or play in order to almost take the heat off of themselves and take the heat off of President Biden. I actually think that's how it's going to play out over the next few weeks or few months. I mean, we'll see about that. The other thing that is in play right now is today is the beginning of the Republican National Convention. So, that's going to be highly charged. Man, the Trump base is going to be highly charged. And I will tell you this, holy mackerel, when he gets on stage for that place is going to explode. I mean, they're going to blow the ceiling off of that place, and everyone that is, a super Trump supporter, I mean, they're going to lose their shit when he walks on stage. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Elvis, the Beatles. Who else are like super famous? All of them combined coming out. I mean, he is going to come out to a roaring, probably standing ovation that'll last like 3 hours or something. So anyway, that timing was weird too, that this happened the Saturday before the national convention. I don't know. That was off to me. And then lastly, we are going to figure out who his vice president is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for a long time, I thought it was going to be Kristi Noem. And then she had that situation with her book and her dog or something. So I don't know if it's going to be her. They're talking a lot about Doug Burgum. That dude's name has come up now. He's the governor of either North or South Dakota. And he was the one that was in the presidential race initially, where like him and Asa Hutchinson, they were kind of like, who the heck are these guys? So I find that weird that Doug Burgum's name is like being touted so much for VP. I mean, that's crazy. Like the dude was, I don't know how he adds value to this or how he moves the needle. By the way, he seems like a super good guy, and I actually liked a lot of the things he had to say, not only during the debates, but I followed up on kind of researching him a little bit, and I definitely liked some of the things he said. But again, even that I find it strange. I really do. I find Doug Burgum strange. They talk about a senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance. He's kind of a nobody. I mean, nobody's really heard of him. He's not on the national stage. I don't see how he moves things forward. My dark horse is RFK Jr. He really is. I feel like that would be such a strategic play for those guys to partner up really and have RFK Jr. as the VP. They've talked about Tulsi Gabbard, the former Democrat who now left the Democratic Party. And I don't think she's a Republican. I think she's also a registered independent, but she definitely is on the Trump side and leans pro-Trump. So, maybe it's her. I don't think it's going to be Vivek, although, again, I mean, I think from a purely intellectual standpoint, I think he is definitely the smartest of the bunch, but I don't know if they'll give him that role. I do think Trump is going to create a role for him, maybe Secretary of State or something. He's going to be something if Trump ends up winning, but I don't know, man. I still, with all of this, I just can't see, and I'm going to refer to them as the powers that be. I just can't see Trump winning. I can see him winning. I can't see them letting him win. I just can't. And again, you got to read between the lines a little bit on what I'm saying. Oh, man. All right. That's it, everybody. That is a Monday. I'm actually interviewing some people today that I might even air tomorrow. because I think it'll be very relevant to this topic. Otherwise, I'm going to have some really good interviews this week. I'm going to launch maybe 2 or 3 of the interviews. And then just a quick little recap on last week. I got some great feedback from my crack research team that I need to start like recapping episodes a little bit better and also recapping interviews a little bit better, which I will at the end of the interview. I'll kind of try to tie it together a little more. And I need to let my interviewees end with letting everybody know where they can find them and all that. I do put all that into the show notes, but I should let them talk that a little more as well. But anyway, last week we had a couple good episodes. We really did, and there were a couple good guest episodes. We had a good episode with Lauren Callahan on gut health. We had hopefully an interesting episode with Sam Moses on the business side of things, on how he's kind of scaled his custom sock business by making exquisite socks out of Italy, which I do have some deep shallow dive socks, and I'm going to start kind of promoting those things and doing some giveaways and doing some fun stuff. But those were good. But there were also just some interesting overall episodes last week, and we're going to continue down that path. Give us a follow. Check us out on Instagram. That community is lit on Instagram. It really is. It's a really engaged community. Facebook also has a nice page, and that community is definitely garnering engagement as well. If you haven't gotten a chance, would love a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then again, just so you know, anytime I do a interview, for the most part, if you hear a little flavor in the beginning intro with like the sound of maybe fireworks and explosions, just know that's a video interview, and you can actually watch that on Spotify and then also on YouTube. All right, everybody, strap in, man, strap in. I think things are going to get wild, and I am going to try to record every day this week because I think there's going to be a lot going on. All right, that's it. Call a spade a spade.
The ending was terrific.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.